Okay, second hour of the Investigative Journal. I'm your host, Greg Szymanski. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, rbnlive.com. You can catch me on 11.915 shortwave and a number of other AM/FM small band stations across the country. In a growing listenership, people love to hear the truth. They love to listen to stories that they haven't heard on the mainstream media and be shocked by the information that's really out there that's being kept from the American people. You know something? Don't forget, tomorrow, 12 to 2 hours, was Vali, a middle management former member of the Illuminati, the Enlightened Ones, the Chosen Ones, member of the family, the Order, as they're called by insiders, and you're going to be shocked at how organized these people are. I was shocked. I knew their organization. I was familiar with it, I should add, 25 years ago when they were, when I was researching this in Rome and looked into their organization in Europe, and then also asked whether they were in America. Of course they are, and they've been firmly rooted here for a long, long time. One of the members of the Illuminati is, of course, is George H. Bush and the Bush family. And today I'm going to delve into a story with a gentleman by the name of Eric Orion, who's written a book. He's with us right now, and be patient, Eric. I'll get you in a second. And if I talk too long, we'll get to you after the break. But anyway, I got to do a little bit of an introduction here because, you know, tomorrow I'm going to talk to Zvali on the New World Order. And I mean, in terms that you normally don't hear. We hear generalities. We hear about the secret sects, the secret cults. But Zvali's going to talk about it from personal experience, her daily activities, so to speak, and also from the time she was initiated at the Vatican. And that is a very dark and deep and haunting ceremony that you're going to want to listen to. But anyway, it all boils down to specifics, and this is what I have on today, a show regarding the specifics of some of the Bush family New World Order antics and many other things. Eric Orion has written a book that is not published yet. He is basically, I have a little letter here. He says, I'm looking for an experienced liberal publisher who is not afraid of the Bush family New World Order. Good luck. I would love to go on Larry King Live or similar venue to discuss my book and profound claims. Good luck with Larry King. I mean, he's very good friends with George H. Bush, I believe. They're always on talking, and Larry lives in this $1 million house. I don't think he's going to want to listen to this. But anyway, you never know, and I would hope that Mr. King would have you on. Eric, I'll get to you in a second. But anyway, this book, I tell you, is shocking when I looked at it. It's been sitting in my desk for a while. I've read most of it, and there are just some really shocking things in here. And it talks about basically this. Eric had a girlfriend who was, her father was a man by the name of Otto Skorzeny. Now, Otto Skorzeny is a high-ranking Nazi that was given asylum here in America, and he went undercover, has a new identity, and was allowed to stay in this country through American ties in the Illuminati. This story takes place with Eric meeting Otto, and Otto giving Eric some deathbed information that's contained in this book that you're not going to get anywhere else regarding George H. Bush, which is going to shock you, maybe, and also pictures that have never been disclosed of Bush and a number of these Nazi sympathizers. We're going to get back to Eric Orion after this break on the Investigative Journal. Okay, back on the Investigative Journal, and I'm your host, Greg Szymanski, and I'm going to give out this number right now because I know you're going to want to call in the second half hour, 800-313-9443. We're talking to Eric Orion, and I'm looking at a picture right here of Eric in a local Florida paper, and Eric is here. He's an inventor, soon to be, it says here, a local inventor, soon to be published author, and it talks about this book, The Bush Connection, a controversial book yet to be published. So Eric is here, and he was even being promoted by his local Florida paper. I did want to read this about the book. This is in the introduction to give you an idea, and then turn it over to Eric and tell us about this fascinating story. The book took more than 5 years of painstaking research to complete. It was written to help prove that the American CIA, OSI, FBI, U.S. Navy, and U.S. Air Force have been lying to the American people and the world since April 8, 1945, about the identities and whereabouts of Nazis living in America today. Germany never actually surrendered at the end of World War II. Allegedly, George H.W. Bush pulled the all-time fast one on the American public and the rest of the free world. He, with the help from thousands of rich Republican Nazi sympathizers in the U.S. government, illegally brought 50,000-plus murdering Nazis to America, not just rocket scientists, gave them fake American identities and jobs meant for American citizens. Okay, Eric had the opportunity to meet one Otto Skorzeny. Tell us about this story, Eric. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Greg. How are you today?
I'm real good. Go ahead. Tell us about this story, how you've met Skorzeny, who he is, and how this book came about, and some of the major points in it.
That's a big one over here. Several years ago, a former girlfriend of mine, her father, elderly father, made a quote-unquote deathbed confession to me, claiming to be Hitler's bodyguard, a former SS Nazi commando Otto Skorzeny, and he claimed to have been and helped start basically the CIA along with George Herbert Walker Bush. Through my meetings with Otto Skorzeny, he gave me a shoebox full of 60 years' worth of photos of wanted SS Nazi war criminals who he personally helped hide and escape while working as a CIA agent in regard to Operation Paperclip and the Odessa. All right. He also told me some amazing stories about some CIA stuff and secret background and other information that has never been disclosed about the Bush family and George Herbert Walker Bush. All right. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I put together a book based upon exactly what Otto Skorzeny had told me and the photos that he had given me. I did a lot of research and got my book copyrighted. It's called thebushconnection.com. Some of the never before published information includes the identities and American aliases of several wanted Nazi war criminals, SS Nazi war criminals, who are supposed to be dead according to our CIA written history books. All right. Also, I have information directly from Otto Skorzeny that George Herbert Walker Bush, the president's father, was actually adopted. Skorzeny is claiming that George Herbert Walker Bush is really the son of Nikola Tesla's illegal immigrant German-born accountant, George H. Scherff, that's S-C-H-E-R-F-F, Sr. I'm claiming that Skorzeny is claiming that George Herbert Walker Bush is really George H. Scherff, Jr., the son of Nikola Tesla's illegal immigrant German-born accountant.
Okay, just hold on. Just make sure you stay close to your phone. And secondly, let's go back a minute. When you met Skorzeny, how old was he?
Approximately 90 years old.
And Skorzeny said he was in America how long?
Since 1945.
And how was he brought here?
He had surrendered to the Americans after World War II, and he was acquitted of committing war crimes during the Nuremberg trials. And after the Nuremberg trials, after being acquitted, he basically went to the CIA and disappeared.
Okay, and he's brought here. Now tell us the significance of Otto Skorzeny and his role, his high-ranking role in the SS, in the Nazis, so people get an idea how powerful this man was.
Well, he was, first of all, he stood at over 6'4" tall. So he was a giant, for his time back then. He was Hitler's personal right-hand man and bodyguard. All right, Skorzeny received worldwide acclaim for rescuing Mussolini from captivity by flying into the Gran Sasso Alps, where Mussolini was being held in captivity at the Hotel de Campo, and he flew in with a team of gliders. with a squadron silently at nighttime atop this mountain, and he kicked open the door of the radio room, machine gunned the radios, and single-handedly grabbed Mussolini and made a getaway flight with the waiting aircraft. He had a Storch aircraft waiting for him, and he flew Mussolini back to Hitler to safety.
Huh. Now, I know I know you don't want to give out the name that he was given. His identity was changed in order to protect his family, some of which were your former girlfriend who's still alive. When was the last time you saw Skorzeny alive?
As far as I know, he died December 31st, 1999. He got cremated. I have a copy of his death certificate, and I've seen his ashes. But who knows? With the CIA, according to them, he had died in 1975, according to the history books.
Okay. Now, you are going out with his daughter, was it, or
yes.
what?
Yes, one of his daughters at the time, yes. Not anymore, but at the time, yes.
All right. And now, why do you think that Skorzeny would tell you all this stuff? Why do you think he confided in you?
He knew that I'm Jewish, first of all. I'm an honest guy, and he thought I would really try to do something about this and bring some justice to these wanted Nazi war criminals. His whole goal was they had screwed him over, including George Bush. They screwed him over and out of large sums of money over the years. This was his one last way of getting even with them.
So basically, he'd been cheated by the Bush. He thought he was cheated by the Bush family,
yes,
and wanted to get back at them some way.
Yes.
Okay. Now what made you believe this story? I mean, was he still coherent at in his old age? Was he still able to recall things? Was he still in his right mind?
He was still very focused and very lucid, and he was still very mobile. He was able to walk around. He was still very impressive. When I first met him, he towered over me. I'm about 5'8", and he had the largest hands I'd ever shaken. He was still very big and impressive at an ripe old age of 90.
Uh-huh. Now, so you...
I'm sorry.
So you believed him then, correct?
After I did a little research and looked into some of the history books and saw some of the old photos, then I realized, yes, I'm talking to someone who's supposed to be dead according to the history books.
Did you ever ask him about that?
Yeah.
What did he say? I didn't come back from the dead.
He said, of course, he said the CIA faked his death along with a whole bunch of other wanted SS Nazi war criminals.
Now, during the years that Skorzeny, from 75 to now, what was his activities? I mean, what was he doing? Did he ever get into that? How did he live?
He lived as a carpenter. That was his cover. He was a contractor. He built houses. And he was just, you would never know by outward appearances anything about him other than he just looked like a tall, old, skinny man. But
did he keep his contacts with the Bush administration and other Nazi war criminals around the country, or did he basically stay isolated?
He kept his contacts. Sure, he was an active member of he's a retired CIA spook. A spook is a CIA agent who had his death faked and still operates. But the government denies he exists, so he can get away with all kinds of crimes if he wanted to.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you these questions just because I know there's always a doubting Thomases that are listening and people that, when they hear stories like this. Now, you would promise to tell the truth and the whole truth and be subpoenaed and give this testimony in a court of law, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Now, would you be willing to take a military lie detector test that was credible?
Yes.
Okay. So you would be willing to do that. This story is not made up on your part.
No.
Okay. Now, let's get into Skorzeny in the last couple minutes before our break, and then some of the allegations he made about the Bush family. You meet Skorzeny. He gives you all this information. It must have scared the living you-know-what out of you after you had these pictures and all this information. What were your thoughts after that on what to do with it?
My thoughts were that I needed to try to bring these wanted SS Nazi war criminal Holocaust killers, terrorists basically, to justice. So I wanted to call our government and tell them, hey, they're still alive. I wanted to bring them to justice. That was my whole intention.